sat up and thought, frowning hard. Yes, perhaps a mail van goes into Amber Lane with a few sacks of registered parcels inside. The postman gets out of his van to go across to the red pillar box to collect the letters. Yes, yes, cried Pam. And someone is watching through the grating to see when he is unlocking the pillar box with his back to the van and signals to the others who are waiting out of sight somewhere. And at once they see the signal, rush to the van, drive it off before the postman can get back to it, cried Janet, taking the words out of Pam's mouth. They all sat and looked at one another, their eyes shining. They felt breathless. Had they solved everything, or was it just too clever to be true? Well, I shall certainly tell Daddy now, said Peter, thrilled. What a bit of luck you noticed the letters on that mail van, Pam and Barbara. Good work. We are really great secret society, I think. Success every time. And we thought this one was a failure, said Janet. Look, there's Daddy. Come and tell him now. So Peter's father was soon surrounded by four excited children, determined to make him believe that what they had discovered really mattered. He listened carefully. He pursed up his mouth and gave his head a little scratch, looking with twinkling eyes at the children. Well, this is a rather different tale this time, most ingenious. Yes, I'll do something about that. He went inside and rang up the inspector of police and asked him to come along. I have a curious tale to tell you, he said. You may or may not believe it, but I think you ought to hear it. And before 10 minutes had passed, the kind-faced inspector was sitting in the garden, listening solemnly to the children's tale. He glanced at Peter's father when they had finished. This is important, he said. They're having too many mail van robberies lately. We will catch the ringleaders this time, thanks to the Vadian Secret 7. He got up to go. The children pressed round him. Tell us what you are going to do. Do, tell us. I'm going to discuss the whole matter with other people, said the inspector, smiling down at the four children. You have not given me much time to make preparations, you know. According to you, it's all fixed for tomorrow. How shall we know what's going to happen? It's our affair, this. Can't we see what's going to happen? Asked Pam. I will let you know tomorrow at 10 o'clock, said the big inspector, twinkling at them. Call a meeting of your secret society down in the shed, and I'll be there to report to you. There was such excitement that evening among the Secret Seven that their parents thought they would never get them to bed. Colin, George, and Jack were all told by the other four, and spent a wonderful time thinking how clever they had been. Well, we will meet down in the shade at 10 tomorrow, said Colin. Passwords and everything, and you all realize, of course, that not one single word of what the inspector tells us is to be told to anyone else. Of course, said everyone. At 5 to 10, they had all arrived at the shed except the inspector. He came promptly at 10 o'clock. Have to let him in without a password, said Peter. But Janet called out loudly, Password, please. The inspector grinned to himself outside the shed. Well, he said, I don't know it, but there's one word that seems to me to be a very good password for you at the moment, and that is adventure. Right, shouted everyone in delight, and the door opened. In went the inspector and was given a large box to sit on. He beamed round at them all. This is secret, he said. Top secret. We have made inquiries, and we think it is possible that a robbery may be planned this evening when the postman drives up in his mail van to make the 7:30 collection of letters from the red pillar box in Amber Lane. At that time of the evening, he has on board his van some sacks of registered letters. Now, what we are going to do this is, a postman will drive up as usual with a mail van. He will park it in the usual place. He will go across to the pillar box and unlock it with his back to the van. The watcher behind the grating will probably signal to others waiting opposite in hiding. They will rush to the van, jump into the driver's seat, two of them probably, and drive it away. But will you let them do that with all the sacks inside? Said Pam. The sacks won't be inside, my dear, the inspector said. But 6 fine policemen will, and what a shock for the 2 men when they park the mail van somewhere lonely and go to unlock the van door. Oh, cried the 7 and gazed at the inspector in delight. And the man signaling behind the grating will find 2 policemen waiting for him in the passage outside the underground room. Very interesting, don't you think so? Please, can we be somewhere and watch? Asked Peter. After all, if it hadn't been for us, you wouldn't have known anything about this. Well, now you listen, said the inspector, dropping his voice low and making everything sound twice as exciting. There's a warehouse called Mark Donald's in Amber Lane, and it's got a back entrance in the road behind, Peyton Road. Nobody will say anything if 7 children go in one by one and make their way to a window overlooking Amber Lane at the front of the warehouse. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't someone there to show you the very room you want. Every single one of the Secret 7 wanted to hug the big inspector, but as he got up at that moment, they couldn't. They beamed in delight at him. Thank you. It's marvelous of you. We will be there if our parents let us. Well, said Peter, looking round, this is wonderful. Seats in the very front row. Yes, but we shan't be able to see the best bit of us. When the man opened the van and out come the policeman, said Jack. Never mind, we will see plenty, said Peter. I wonder where Jeff is. I suppose that awful Mr. Teaser took him away and locked him up somewhere till the raid was over. I wonder what will happen to poor old Jeff. I wish tonight was here, said George, getting up. It will never come. But it did come, and it brought a most exciting evening with it. The seven spent the rest of the morning up in the tree house, talking over everything. Scamper put himself on guard as usual, but no one came by. The afternoon dragged on, and tea time came. Then the children began to feel intensely excited. At 6:30, they went one by one down to Amber Lane. They thought they had better not go in a bunch in case they attracted attention. They found the back entrance of Mark Tonell's warehouse in Petton Road and went up the steps to it. The door swung open slightly as they reached the top step. Most mysterious. But behind it, keeping guard, was one of the village policemen. He grinned at each children as he or she walked in and took them up the stairs along dusty passages to a little room at the front. We have got a marvelous view of the red pillar box, said Janet to Peter. We shall see everything. I wonder if the signaller is down behind the grating yet. They asked the policeman. He nodded. Yes, he is there all right. We have watched him go into the underground room, complete with white handkerchief for signaling. There are now two policemen in a cupboard outside the door, waiting. It was too exciting to be borne. The children simply couldn't sit still. The time went by slowly. 7 o'clock, 10 past, 20 past, 25 past. A clock on a nearby church tower suddenly chimed the half hour, 7:30. Now was the time. Everything happened very suddenly and quickly. There came the roar of a car engine, and round a corner came the red mail van, MKX 102. It stopped, and the driver jumped out. He took a sack and ran across to the red pillar box. He unlocked it, his back to his van. And then two men suddenly came from a small alleyway and sprinted at top speed to the van. There was no one in Emberlin except the postman. All the workers had gone home long ago. But many watchers saw the two men. The seventh child stared breathlessly. So did the policeman with them. So did the signaller behind the grating. And so did many hidden eyes belonging to watchful police, including the inspector himself. The man leaped into the front of the van. One got into the driving seat, the other next to him. There was a roar of the engine, and the van drove off at top speed, vanishing around the corner. The postman straightened up. He didn't seem surprised. He was in the secret too. The children rocked to and fro on their seats in excitement. A few policemen appeared from odd places and spoke to one another. Then there came a noise from down below. That's a signaller being caught, said Peter. I bet it is. It was, of course. He had walked out of the underground room straight into the arms of the waiting policeman, and lo and behold, it was Mr. Teaser. But the evening's excitement wasn't yet finished. Before half an hour had gone, the mail van was back again, but this time it was driven by a uniformed policeman with another beside him. Inside were the two men. As the children watched, the van doors were opened and four policemen got out with the two men held firmly by the arms. Caught them nicely, said the policeman who was in the room with the children. They must have parked quite nearby, opened the van, and got the surprise of their lives. And here they are, back again to talk to the chief. It was maddening to have to go home after that. What an excitement! How wonderful to be it at the finish, but how dull afterwards. The seven went to Peter's house to supper, talking all at once. Nobody could possibly hear what anyone else said, and waiting at the house for them was Jeff. The kitten was back in his arms, and he looked scared but happy. Hello, he said. The police know all about everything now, don't they? They came to my uncle's house and found me. Uncle had locked me up in an attic. I haven't got to go back to him anymore. What's going to happen to you then? Asked Peter. They're trying to find out about my mother. I told you I didn't even know what hospital she had gone to. I am to stay here till they know. Your mother said I could. Jeff looked clean and his hair was brushed. Peter's mother had felt sorry for him and had done what she could when the police brought him to her. Now he was to have supper with the seven. He was very happy. The telephone rang, and Peter's mother went to answer it. She came back smiling. It's about your mother, Jeff. She's better. She's leaving hospital tomorrow and going back home, and you are to be there to greet her. Jeff stood with tears in his eyes. He couldn't say a word. He held the kitten so tightly that it mewed. He turned to the seven, finding his tongue at last. It's you that have done all this, he said, stammering in his joy. It's all because of you. I'm glad I found your tree house. I'm glad I met you. You are a wonderful secret society, the best in all the world. Ah, well, we do feel rather pleased with ourselves tonight, said Peter, grinning at Jeff. Don't we, Scamper, old boy? Do you agree that we are a good secret society? Do you agree that we must go on and do lots more exciting things? Oof, said Scamper and thumped his tail on the floor. Oof! Well done, Secret 7. To let's hear your next adventure soon.